All right. I hung up on him because I don't think he would have. You're listening to the Chris Briggs Show. That the guy with no arms?
No armed police officer. That's crazy, dude.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, the police officer hops out of his squad car. He's got no arms. That's what I heard.
Are you serious? That's what you heard? I heard that the guy that ran into him.
That would make more sense, but
I don't remember that time. Remember that time we went? You do? We went to that. Why don't you share from your angle what happened there, and then I'll cut in.
The church?
Yeah.
We someone that we worked with invited us to go to their church. Like, hey, come check out our church, on Wednesday night or whatever. So we did, and it's this huge building that looks like, cameras everywhere. It looks like
Secret Service
status, like doors locking, looks like passcodes to get in and whatnot. And we go in there. We don't know where we are. We're clearly lost and clearly never been there before.
No, all the doors were locked.
The doors were actually locked?
Yeah, and some guy with the little Secret Service earpiece in a suit, for the church, had to come let us in.
Yeah, he had the security earpiece in. He definitely looked like CIA status. Minus one thing, when he stuck out his hand to say hello, he didn't have a hand. He didn't have much of an arm. It was just kind of a stump.
Yeah, this guy greeted me, and, he went to shake my hand. He stuck out his stump.
He sticks out the stump. Not the other hand, but the stump.
I didn't know who was being rude at that point.
He had one regular arm, but then on the other arm, it was a stump, and he chooses to shake your hand with the stump.
It wasn't even, was it a stump? It was like it was...
It was a mangled claw or something.
Yeah, that's a really rude way to put it.
That's what it looks like.
Hey, we never said that we were anything polite over here. We treat people with respect. Yeah, he was a nice guy, and he did have a mangled claw for a hand.
You treated him with respect. You're like, how do we do this here? What are we doing here? And the guy goes, just kind of grab onto it and shake.
And grab onto it and shake. I did.
It was a good call asking how to handle that impolite situation. I find it weird that he put the stump out to shake.
I find that rude.
It's kind of rude. It's definitely weird.
You said you didn't see what was going on. You just heard me go, "Hey, what are we doing here?"
Yeah. And then he goes to shake my hand. I was like,
You thought he was doing some sort of crazy handshake?
Yeah, like secret handshake or something.
It was a pretty crazy handshake. It was the craziest handshake I've ever experienced.
He could have been a Freemason for all I know.
I don't know I don't get that.
Freemasons have secret handshakes that they do.
Does it involve a mangled claw?
I don't know. I've never gotten to the upper echelon of Freemasonry.
I wonder if he can even do the Freemason handshake.
He probably can't. He'd have to use his other hand.
But then they say that it's rude if you extend your left hand.
What?
To shake hands?
Oh, left hand is just straight up. It's rude even if you're left-handed?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Like if you're left-handed, they say it's rude to extend your left hand.
Who's making up these rules, man? What about the lefties out there? Are they just rude?
I will tell you, Harry Masongale, I'll say his name, White Hair Productions, Maybe Tomorrow, filmmakers of Maybe Tomorrow, and a few other features you can buy, local Indianapolis. But that guy, he's left-handed, and that son of a bitch would always stick out his left hand. That used to piss me off. And he'd think that it was I'm left-handed, so I like to make people adapt to me. I'm like, well... I don't subscribe to the adapting to you policy, so you're going to have to fucking figure something out there. But before you know it, you're putting your left hand out because he's put his left hand out first.
Is it an awkward shake my hand? Is it?
I noticed I always
right hand out. The right hand is definitely more normal. Left hand is kind of like you might miss their hand,
That's what I do all the time. When I shake somebody's hand, I always end up like they. I don't know what my deal is, but it has to be me because it happens to me all the time. Every time I put out my freaking hand, they always shake just the tips of my fingers.
The tips of it.
It's like, am I slow moving or why are you shaking? I don't feel comfortable you squeezing the tips of my fingers.
Let me see the tips. Of the okay, there you go. You didn't like that.
No, I know I don't like it. That's what I'm saying. Like people do that to me all the time, and I think it has to be me. Like, what am I? Am I doing some sort of feminine handshakers? Why?
You might be coming in from the top or something.
Maybe I am. I don't appreciate it though. It really pisses me off.
A swoop, come up from the underside.
But then they also say that you can tell the strength of a man based on his handshake, and I don't. If someone's doing that shit to me, it's like, what does that say about me? If I'm getting the tips of my fingers squeezed, you don't squeeze the tip of me, buddy. I don't appreciate that.
Don't squeeze the tip. That's just
it makes me feel uncomfortable, you know. And then I feel like I have to prove, like I'm just meeting the guy, and I already feel like I have to prove myself to him because he's squeezed. Like I feel like he's the boss now because he's squeezing my tips. It's like and I commonly say no. I start laughing. I'm like, no, let's get a real handshake here.
Right.
And I flip it on them. I make it their fault, you know.
What do they do?
They shake my hand a second time.
Yeah, like properly?
Yeah. And I squeeze it real hard. Not just From the Chris Brake Show podcast.